Let's think back over the big things that have happened so far in Bobby the Brave. In order to refresh our memories, I'm going to read the titles of the chapters we've read so far. Chapter 1, He's Not Like You. Chapter 2, The Class Musical. And Chapter 3, Say Cheese. Think about some big things that happened and that we learned so far about Bobby. Pause the video and reflect. Today, we are going to read chapters in which Bobby faces moments when he acts and feels very confident. And then there are other moments when Bobby feels much less confident. Today, we will read chapters 4 to 6. Remember, as you listen to the Read Aloud video today, I am going to prompt you to pause and answer questions in your book club Google Docs. As a friendly reminder, your Google Doc is due before you come to our Zoom today. As they gathered around for dinner, the Ellis-Chan family all talked at once. Sometimes it was hard to get a word in, but Bobby was used to that. "I want to get some clean dirt for Wormy Worm," Casey was telling her mother. "The dirt he has now is all dirty." "Then what did your coach say?" Mr. Ellis-Chan asked Annie. He could get very focused when talking football. "Coach says that I have a great throwing arm, but that I need to practice more." Annie stopped talking just long enough to poke her father's double-crusted mac and cheese and cabbage and carrots. "I'm going to be Annie's dog," Bobby volunteered. When no one paid attention, he repeated himself louder. "I'm going to be Annie's dog." His big sister frowned. "I don't want you to be my dog." "No, I'm going to be in the musical about little orphan Annie and play Sandy the dog." "Oh, that's wonderful," his mother said. "Bobby, you'll make a great dog. I just know it." Bobby felt warm inside. It was true, he thought. He'd make the greatest dog, not just in the entire world, but in the entire solar system. Bobby loved dogs and even considered him an expert on all things dog. If he didn't have asthma and wasn't allergic to fur, he would have 5 dogs, maybe 10 or even 20. "Dad, did you hear? I'm going to be a dog." Bobby took a bite of his father's latest creation and then quickly drank some milk. "What if we had a more regimented series of backyard drills?" Mr. Ellis-Chan asked Annie. "I can even show you some we used to do when I played for the Earthquakes." "Cool," Annie said. "Can we do it right after we finish eating?" "Of course," her father replied. "I love it that you're living your dream. Wow, my daughter is quarterback of the high school football team. Have I told you how proud I am?" "Yeah," Annie laughed. "Like about 1,000,000 times." "Dad?" Bobby said meekly. "I'm going to be a dog." But his father was too busy talking to Annie to hear him. Why would he even care that his son was going to be a dog when his daughter was a football star? Later, as Mr. Ellis-Chan guided Annie through her football drills, Bobby watched them from his bedroom window. "He's not like me," Bobby recalled his father telling Annie. What exactly did that mean? That Bobby wasn't as brave as his father? That he wasn't as athletic as his father? That he wasn't as popular as his father? That he wasn't as big and strong as his father? Bobby's shoulders slumped. It probably meant all those things and more. The two of them couldn't be more different. I want you to pause the video and answer your first comprehension question in your Google Doc. How do you think Bobby feels here when he realizes he's different from his father? Make sure to use complete sentences and turn the question around, like we talked about in our Zoom yesterday. Over in the garden, Bobby could also see his mom tending to her zinnias and Casey talking to Wormy Worm. "Look, I brought you a present," his little sister was saying. She loved giving presents and just yesterday had insisted that Bobby keep the butterfly barrette she gave him. He smiled as Casey tried to coax her worm into sitting up straight in the dollhouse chair. "Great job!" Mr. Ellis Chan yelled to Annie when she mowed down all the empty cans on the brick wall with her throws. "Aw, man, you were right on target every time. Let's see that again. I know you can do it." Bobby closed the window and then retrieved his wooden cigar box from his bookshelf. It housed some of his most valuable possessions: Gramps' gold cufflinks, an odd-shaped piece of metal, possibly from an alien spacecraft, a photo of Mr. Ellis Chan holding the 2-year-old Bobby in a football jersey with the entire LA Earthquakes team surrounding them. Bobby found what he was looking for under a broken stopwatch. Gingerly, he took out this tiny soccer ball and cradled it in the palm of his hand. It was about the size of a marble and had belonged to Rover. Rover had been Bobby's beloved goldfish, but he had died in a tragic bubble bath accident. It still pained Bobby to think about it. As Bobby dropped the soccer ball in the aquarium, Koloff and Beatrice swam away from it. "Come on, you two, try to push the ball," Bobby coached. Rover loved playing with his soccer ball. He could push it all around the tank and even get it into the soccer net. "Give it a try. Come on. I know you can do it." Koloff and Beatrice did not seem interested. Not even Diver Dave, the plastic diver who swam up and down, wanted anything to do with the ball. "Okay then, how about this?" Bobby said, giving them hand signals. Rover had been able to follow Bobby's commands to swim through hoops and in circles. When Koloff and Beatrice didn't respond, Bobby gave up. "That's okay," he assured the fish. "Sometimes these things take time." The morning started off great. At the urging of his family, Mr. Ellis Chan served his delicious homemade cinnamon rolls for breakfast. It was the one thing he made that the entire family loved. Bobby said again as he took another bite. "Dad, you should make your cinnamon rolls for every meal." "Thanks, son," his father said, beaming. At school, Mrs. Carlson taught the class the songs from Annie. Bobby was glad he didn't have a solo. Pretending to sing along was hard enough. Jillian Czar's singing sounded just like her talking, except louder. St. James was a terrible singer, but he didn't seem to notice. Holly was great as Miss Hannigan and had everyone laughing, especially because Miss Hannigan was mean and Holly was always nice. But the big surprise was Swoozie. Bobby had hardly noticed her before. She was just one of the girls in Jillian Czar's wolf pack. Yet when Swoozie sang, it was like someone else entirely. She was a star. Bobby wondered what that would be like, to be a star. His dad was a famous ex-football player, and Annie was the star of her high school football team. His mom was a star at her company, Go Girly Girl, and had even been named Employee of the Month twice. Even Casey had people fawning over her wherever she went because she was so cute. But Bobby, well, he was just plain Bobby. I want you to pause the video and answer your second comprehension question. Why do you think Bobby thinks of himself as just plain Bobby? Remember to turn the question around and use complete sentences. Later, during lunch, St. James asked, "If you could have one superpower, what would it be?" "I'd like to fly." To prove this, he jumped up and, with his arms extended, ran around the lunch tables until a lunch lady made him stop. "I'd read minds," Chess said as James was getting lectured. "I would be invisible," Jackson said, nodding. "Yep, invisible, so I could spy on people. Either that or a diabolical super genius." "What about you, Bobby?" "Superhuman strength," Bobby answered. He imagined himself making the winning Super Bowl touchdown as his father cheered. "That's my boy! I'm so proud of him!" "Superhuman strength," St. James repeated when he was allowed to sit back down. "That'll come in handy in PE. Did you hear? We got a new PE teacher. And get a load of this. His name is Mr. Wienerhouse." "Wienerhouse," Jackson said, laughing so hard that milk almost came out of his nose. "Yeah, Wienerhouse," St. James said as the boys cracked up. "Wienerhouse, Wienerhouse, Wienerhouse," they chanted as the bell rang. As the students of room 15 stood in straight rows on the playground, their new PE teachers looked over them and frowned. Bobby thought Mr. Wienerhouse looked mean, like that man in the bathtub cleaner commercial who scrubbed away stubborn dirt and soap scum. "When I call your name, say here," the PE teacher ordered. "Amy Aoki." "Here." "Jackson Chavez." "Here." "Robert Ellis Chan?" Bobby gulped. Excuse me, Mr. Wienerhouse? Can you call me Bobby instead of Robert?" Bobby watched as the new PE teacher's face went from pale to pink to a deep red. "What did you say?" Bobby felt himself shrink. "Bobby, if you could call me..." "What did you just call me?" the teacher boomed. "Mr. Wienerhouse?" All the kids were snickering, especially St. James. "It's Rainerhouse. My name is Mr. Rainerhouse. It's pronounced Rain-er-house. And you, Robert, can sit on that bench for the rest of PE. I will not tolerate smart Alex." Bobby glared at St. James as he made his way to the bench. St. James was famous for stirring up trouble, and usually Bobby thought it was funny, except when he was at the center of it. Sitting alone, Bobby watched his class play soccer. They looked like they were having fun. His dad would have never let himself get tricked like that. Bobby was glad his father wasn't there to see him sitting on the sidelines. That afternoon, when Bobby got home, Casey was outside explaining leprechauns and rainbows to Wormy Wormworm. Bobby waved hello to her and went on into the kitchen, where he found his father. "Hi, Bobby," Mr. Ellis Chan said as he rinsed the mixing bowl. "How would you like to be the first to try my blueberry tomato cookies?" Bobby looked at the lumps on the plate and shook his head. "No thanks, Dad. Maybe later." For a split second, his father looked disappointed, but he quickly composed himself and asked, "Everything okay, son?" "Everything's just fine," Bobby said as he rushed to his room. He couldn't bear to tell his father about what happened in PE. Koloff and Beatrice were swimming back and forth. Diver Dave was swimming up and down. Bobby watched them for a while before releasing a huge sigh. "I got in trouble at school today and had to sit on a bench during PE, he confessed to them. "You probably have no idea what it's like to be stuck in one spot for a whole hour." Beatrice stopped swimming and then began to circle the tank. She was a pretty white fish with orange spots. Koloff, who was orange, was skimming the rocks on the bottom of the aquarium. Bobby leapt up. "Oh my gosh, you do know. You're stuck in this aquarium all day and night." He paced his room. "Wait," he said as he ran his hands through his hair. "Just because I was benched doesn't mean you have to be too." "What are you doing with that spoon?" Casey looked up at Bobby. She had dirt all on her face and all over her gown. "Digging a lake for Wormy Wormworm. Want to help?" "No, thanks," Bobby said. "Hey, can I borrow your Princess Becky wagon?" "What for?" she asked as she emptied a cup of water into the hole. "I want to take the goldfish for a walk," Bobby explained. "They don't get out much." "Fishy fish fish and fish fishy fish?" Casey said. "They have names, you know," Bobby grumbled. It bugged him that she was always making up dumb names. It's Koloff and Beatrice. Those were great names. Koloff was named after the amazingly sticky and stinky Koloff tree in the Huntington Gardens. Bobby knew that tree really well, having been stuck to it on a class trip. Beatrice was the name Holly had given the other fish. Technically, Beatrice belonged to Holly, but really she was both of theirs. "Okie dokie, Koloff and Beatrice. Don't be mad, Bobby." Instantly, Bobby felt guilty that he had snapped at Casey. "Bobby, can Wormy Wormworm go for a walk too? He doesn't get out much." Bobby nodded. If that was the price of borrowing her wagon, then it would be worth it. He had considered balancing the fishbowl on the skateboard and pulling it with a rope, but that seemed too risky. Yes, the wagon was the best form of transportation. After all, didn't the settlers cross the plains in covered wagons? Bobby imagined his fish were the pioneers and he was the horse. There was lots of preparation for Koloff and Beatrice's big adventure. First, Bobby cleaned out the wagon and put all of Casey's dolls and plastic Smiley Meal Princess Becky toys in a pile. Then, he lined the wagon with a bath towel for maximum comfort. Back in his room, it took a while to transfer Beatrice and Koloff into the glass bowl with a fishnet. Bobby carried the bowl with both hands, taking small steps so the water wouldn't spill. Along the way, he said in a soothing voice, "Don't worry, guys. I'll take care of you. You're going to have a great time." Casey filled her empty water cup with dirt and dropped her worm into it as Bobby carefully placed the fishbowl in the wagon. "We'll have to go slow so the water doesn't slosh," he explained to her. "Also, I'll need someone to look out for bumps in the sidewalk so no one gets hurt. Do you know anyone who could do that?" Casey raised her hand. "I can do that. Bumps!" she called out to show how serious she was. "Bumpity bump, 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 bump." Slowly, Bobby pulled the wagon around the block as Casey raced ahead. Every now and then, she would shriek, "Bump!" and he was careful to go around it. They made their way through the neighborhood. Bobby pointed out fascinating sights to his passengers. He felt like the guide on the red double-decker bus his family rode when they had taken a tour of Washington, D.C. "And to our left is Holly Harper's house. Beatrice, she's the one who chose you. See that wall over there? That's where I had a huge wipeout when I was first learning to skateboard. And that over there is..." Suddenly, Bobby stopped so fast, the water in the fishbowl splashed. "What?" Casey asked. She was holding a fistful of flowers and a long gnome. "What's the matter, Bobby? Did you see a bump?" Bobby couldn't speak. He couldn't even move. There, planted in front of him on the sidewalk, was the scary cat, the one with 27 toes. It was rumored that the cat was so vicious that it had once destroyed a minivan. Bobby tried not to look directly at the scary cat for fear that it would lock his eyes on him and then pounce. Instead, he looked up at the sky to show that he wasn't afraid. One could never tell what the scary cat was thinking. That was the problem with sinister beings. They hardly ever told you what they were up to. "Bobby," Casey said, peering out from behind him. "He's not going to hurt any of us, is he?" Bobby had been so afraid the cat was going to attack him that he had forgotten about everyone else. His adrenaline started pumping. He had to get Casey, Beatrice, Koloff, and Wormy Wormworm out of there. But how? The cat stood firm in the dead center of the sidewalk as if daring them to pass. "We'll just have to turn around slowly and go back home," Bobby whispered to Casey. He could see her trembling. "Come on, it's okay. I'll protect you." I want you to pause the video and think, and answer this comprehension question. What are some things Bobby did and said once he saw the cat that might give us some clues about how confident he feels here? As Bobby turned the wagon around, he kept his eyes on the cat, who kept his eyes on him. Every now and then, the cat would release an evil meow, sending shivers through Bobby. Slow and steady, slow and steady. Bobby continued down the sidewalk, slow and steady so the water in the fishbowl wouldn't splash. "Bobby!" Casey gasped. "The cat is following us." Sure enough, the scary cat was stalking them. Only now he wasn't looking at Bobby. He was looking at the goldfish. "Casey," Bobby said, trying to sound braver than he felt, "you pull the wagon with Wormy Wormworm in it. I'm going to carry Koloff and Beatrice." Casey looked like she was on the verge of tears. "Don't worry," he whispered. "I'm here." Suddenly, Casey screamed. The cat was now in front of them. "Bobby, do something!" she shouted. He's going to eat us! Do something!" But what? What could he do? If he could fly, he could whisk them all into the air. If he were invisible, he could push the cat away. If he had superhuman strength, he could pull up the sidewalk. But he was just Bobby. "Shoo!" he said. The scary cat refused to budge. He just licked his lips and stared at Beatrice and Koloff. Bobby held the fishbowl tighter to his chest. "Shoo!" he said again, trying to sound mean and menacing, but only it came out more like a squeak. "Shoo!" Without warning, something flying as fast as a missile shot out of nowhere and nearly landed on the cat. The cat let out a loud screech and ran away. Bobby looked around to see what had fallen from the sky. Could it have been a meteor? That's when he saw it. Of course. A football. "Hey, twerps!" Annie cried from down the street. She was on her way home from football practice. "What do you think you're doing?" "Annie, Annie, Annie!" Casey cried, running into her arms. "That bad cat was going to eat us!" Annie laughed and hugged Casey. "Well, you're safe now. That cat's not going to bother you as long as I'm around." Casey hugged her sister harder and buried her face in her football jersey. "Annie, you are our hero. Wait until Mommy and Daddy hear about this." "I was going to rescue you," Bobby told Casey. "I know," she said as she gazed lovingly at her sister. "But Annie did it first." I want you to pause and answer this comprehension question. Even though Bobby feels afraid, how does he act toward his sister and the cat? What do you think that says about him? Chapter 6, Troy Eagle, the best athlete. Bobby hated it when they picked teams for soccer and PE. A few kids looked excited, but even more distressed, just like he did. "Since there are 28 of you, we're going to have 4 teams. That'll make the competition more interesting," Mr. Rainerhouse announced. "Who would like to be a team captain?" Jillian Zars and St. James' hands shot into the air. Another girl and Jackson raised their hands too. "All right, you 4. Jillian, you start." Bobby could tell Holly was disappointed when Jillian Zar didn't pick her. He felt the same way when neither St. James nor Jackson picked him. As the group of kids who hadn't been picked grew smaller, Bobby shifted from one foot to the other. Then he heard Jackson say, "I'll take Bobby." His heart lifted. "Okay, Robert, you're on Jackson's team," Mr. Rainerhouse noted. Bobby said goodbye to Chess and joined the kids on the other side. When the last kid was picked, he noticed that St. James and Jackson had picked all boys. Jillian Zar and the other girl picked all girls. This happened every time. It was Jackson's team against Jillian Zar's. This made Bobby shudder. The girls were always out to win. The boys got ahead with an early goal, but they didn't hold the lead for long. When one of the girls yelled, "Look, there's a dinosaur!" St. James took his eye off the ball and the girls scored a goal. Then they scored another goal when one of them shouted, "Look, there's $1 on the ground." When the girls won, Bobby couldn't believe how loud and obnoxious they were. Only Holly said to the boys, "Good game." But then Holly was like that. She was the student council representative for room 15, so it was like her job to be nice to everyone. Bobby was the alternate student council rep. So he didn't have to be quite as nice as Holly, which was a relief because having to be nice all the time would be exhausting. Still, if his team had won the soccer game, Bobby knew he wouldn't be boastful and rude like Jillian Zar. He'd be proud and humble because though he wasn't good at sports, he knew it was important to be a good sport. His dad always said that. "Why don't we ever play chess for PE? It's a sport," Chess asked as kids flew past him. Bobby and his buddies were at the new Troy Eagle skate park and rec center. The great Troy Eagle himself had come to the grand opening, and Bobby had stood in line for 2 hours to get an autographed poster of the skateboarding superstar. "I don't know," Bobby answered. He pulled up his knee pads, which had slipped again. Annie always made fun of him for being too skinny. "They ought to have skating in PE. It's a sport. It's part of the X Games. Plus, everyone knows Troy Eagle is the best athlete ever." Over on the far side of the park, 2 kids had collided and were both on the ground. Jackson was whooping it up while skating backward. "Look at my fakie!" he yelled. "Look at me!" Chess was a silent skater. He always looked like he was going in slow motion, even when he fell down, which was often. Then there was St. James, who was a daredevil with or without a skateboard. "Everyone watch me!" he yelled seconds before a spectacular crash. Bobby was a good, solid skater. Not showy, but not a wimp either. He'd study the bigger kids and then start off slow, working his way up to the trick, whether it was as simple as a nose grind or as hard as an aerial. Though he had trouble grabbing his board while flying through the air, he was getting better. One of the things Bobby liked best about skating with his buddies was that no matter what happened, no matter who wiped out, no one was ever made fun of. Just as he nailed a 360-degree turn, he heard someone yell, "Bobby, Bobby, Bobby, time to go home." Across the skate park, standing outside the fence under the giant Troy Eagle billboard, were Casey and Mr. Ellis Chan. Both were waving. How long had they been there? He hoped his father had seen his 360. Bobby nodded to them and glided down the ramp. When he reached the bottom, he slammed the back of his board with his heel so it shot up, then grabbed it mid-flight and headed toward the gate. "Quite impressive," Mr. Ellis Chan said. Bobby grinned as his dad mussed up his hair. "We watched you," Casey added. "You're good, Bobby, Bobby, Bobby. You twirled in the air like a ballerina." "That's called a 360, Bobby said. He hoped no one had heard her compare him to a ballerina. But thanks. I want you to now answer your last comprehension question. How do you think Bobby feels when his dad sees his trick and says, "Quite impressive"? Make sure to complete your whole book club assignment and have it submitted before our Zoom today.